everyone, welcome to the LARP Tales podcast. My name is Oliver. I am one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, and sitting next to me today, for a change, is my co-host Robyn. Hey, Robyn.
Hey, Oliver.
How you doing? You all right?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Yeah. Today we're going to be finally recapping our time at And Now My Watch Has Ended, which is a sequel to the Game of Thrones game we did last year. It was a horror game, another horror game.
Yeah.
Set in the Game of Thrones universe, so we'll get right into that. Before that, though, if you are new to the Two Having to Roll universe, make sure that you follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on an audio platform such as Spotify or Apple Music, give us a 5-star review. If you want to support us in other ways, then there are methods down in the description, the show notes. We have a Patreon and other links that you can go check out there. With that all out the way, let's get into our recap of Now My Watch Has Ended. Okay, first of all, we are on coffee today because when we started recording this or trying to record this, it was morning. It is now kind of late afternoon. So
I mean, we started trying this at 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
And I think it's now 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So we're we're pushing through all the hurdles that it takes to make a podcast in not an ideal recording situation. But hopefully this works out. If you like this format, let us know, because usually we record in like separate locations, but it's so much easier just to record in the one location. We thought
It's so much easier.
trying to get these mics to work. You don't want to know about that. You want to hear about LARP, but that's kind of where we're at currently. Also, this game as well. I've got to make sure I'm looking at the camera as well. This game as well was 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago.
Yeah, because it was December.
Yeah. So some of our memory when it comes to things like rules and names and things like that might not be just exact, but you'll get the gist of the story.
You just want the story anyway,
Yeah.
don't you?
So talking of the story, so this was technically a continuation of the game we did last year in the January of 2024. So in that game, Now My Watch Begins, you can go and check out the full story. There's a big gap here. I'll just put the
Yeah,
the
this
video
is where
up.
the video is.
The video goes here. We can maybe put graphics or something. We should really decorate the back of here. The audio listeners are like, what the hell are you talking about? But yeah, go check out that podcast episode, the one we did last year. Now My Watch Begins. We did like a 2-part telling the story of that. But the gist of it is that we were conscripts joining the Night's Watch. We played Florian Velaryon, or I played Florian Velaryon, who was a legitimized bastard. He was legitimized just before, just as the rebellion was starting. And unfortunately, he was on the wrong side of the rebellion. So, he got captured before the Velaryon fleet was destroyed, imprisoned, and then he was given a choice, basically death of the wall. So he had a good old grand adventure up at the wall and became a veteran. And then who were you playing, Robyn, in the last game?
So in the last game, I played Jonquil Rivers, who was very similar sort of story there, where she was given the choice of death, joining the Silent Sisters, or going to the Wall. And again, yeah, she chose to travel to the Wall. So the first game, Now My Watch Begins, was our first ever Eversley event. And that was our first time there. And it was set in the Game of Thrones universe roughly 14 years before the first episode, if that makes sense. And this game is set in that first episode. that's the sort of timeline that we're looking at there. It's a bit of difference between book and show, whether you're looking at 16 years or 14 years, but that's sort of what we're looking at there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This game, like Oliver said, to start off with, is another horror one. It is a nightmare version, which is something that they do at Eversley with quite a few games. They have nightmare versions of them. So we knew this was going to be a horror game. We didn't know what there was going to be going into it, but we had a really strong idea of what we were going to face in a nightmare game north of the wall in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Well, I've got to admit, like I wasn't disappointed. Well, I was disappointed at the first game. When it dawned upon me that the White Walkers weren't around at that in that period of time, I was like, oh, that means we're not fighting White Walkers. I really wanted to fight White Walkers, you know, and obviously when we heard it was like, so this was the other thing as well, because there's a disparity between the books and the TV show when it comes to the timeline between the end of the rebellion and the events of A Game of Thrones, because obviously it's Jon Snow's age, so they aged him up in the show, so it was a longer period because obviously he's born during the rebellion, so and he's only 14 or whatever, so so what did we say it was? Did we say it was like 14 years basically that we've been at the wall?
Yeah, we're looking at roughly between 14 and 16 years. If we say that sort of timeline, the difference is literally a couple of years. That's the only difference. But yeah, so we have at this point been at the wall for a long time. We started off as new conscripts. We got to bring our previous characters back. So we got to play Florian and Jonquil. But now we are veterans. So Jonquil's a veteran ranger and Florian is a veteran builder.
Yeah. So yeah, we survived the events of the first game, which is funny because like we had just not long died at Empire.
Yeah.
Right. We died in that kind of the previous summer, and we were playing kind of like lovers again. And it's funny, like I didn't really want to do the whole that again, basically like lovers like dying again. So I'm glad we kind of survived that, and then like a year later to continue that story, because the general story was that you had we were like pen pals and we were flirting with each other, and then I just didn't write you back.
Yeah, pretty much. So we had that out last game. What was really interesting, though, is for this game, we got given our character sheets and our background and everything, and we actually had a load of information and things that happened to us in that time period while we had been at the wall, north of the wall, and there was several cool little things that we both had there. One really cool thing that happened to our characters is that now there's rules when you're at the wall. We all swore an oath, and that oath includes not getting married or anything like that. So a cool thing that they wrote in for our characters is that at some point we went north of the wall. We took a group of our closest and most trusted friends with us, and we actually got married. So our characters are actually married, and only small group of people know about this.
Yeah, that was quite cool. So a lot of people who were at the first game lost their characters. I mean, some people went through like 2 or 3 characters in the first game and then came back for this one. We were one of the only kind of few. There was a select few people, wasn't there?
Yeah.
That were still characters from the first game. But yeah, a lot of us were conscripts in that first game, and it was interesting to go like, oh, how is Florian now compared to what he was like in the first game? So we may as well kick off. One of the big differences in this nightmare game is that it finishes in the middle of the night on the Saturday, so there's no game on Sunday. So we knew that it was going to be basically there's sort of a shorter time period. Well, there definitely is. There's a shorter time period for game to happen. So in the first game, we did the whole training montage, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we did the whole swearing people in. So we had conscripts this time, but we didn't. It wasn't as much of a focus was there. It was kind of skipped a little bit.
Yeah, we kind of did quite a bit of a bigger time jump. We did still go to the Godswood tree and did all of that, which was really cool because it was a cool feature and a really cool prop that they've got. So I feel like we kind of wanted, you know, we also needed to know where that was located because that comes into effect again later in the game.
But it was really cool because the first game we did of 2024 was that Eversley game, and it was our first time at Eversley doing
Yeah.
a small scale LARP. I think that was our we've done Empire player events, but that was our first like non-Empire small LARP at Eversley, and it was really interesting to see that mirror because then this was the last LARP we did of 2024, and it was in December. So we started out in January and this December, and it was quite cool to see that because the game kind of mirrored the first game,
Yeah.
and it was really cool to not just see how our characters had changed, but how we had changed as LARPers. I don't know if you felt
Well, I was
big
literally going to say the exact same thing. Like Jonquil at the start was, you know, she was a bit quiet, a little bit, you know, nervous and unsure about a lot of things, and she'd follow people, and you know, everything was very new and frightening, and wouldn't get involved in a lot. And me as a LARPer at that point. I was at a new event. I didn't know a lot of people. I was definitely quite nervous. And then we fast forward a year in real life and 14 years in game. And Jonquil's now like she's out actually leading rangings and people follow and listen to her, and she's, you know, got the Lord Commander's ear and everything. And then me as a LARPer, I'm like, oh, I know all these people because I've been playing all these games with them all year. I feel more confident, and my role at Empire has changed so much that I feel more like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're going to go do this. I can go do the things. So it felt like we had grown along with our characters in that year. And the Eversley games as well, like honestly, we knew hardly anyone, and now it feels like I feel a little bit part of the family there now. It feels like you're coming, you know, back to see everyone each event, and I understand it now. I understand the people who say, you know, they go to so many Eversley events. I understand the buzz.
I mean, you can definitely, you know, LARP with strangers and have a really good time. But you can totally see why people get into a comfort zone with people that they enjoy LARPing with, because you get, I guess you get to kind of stretch more kind of LARPing muscles, you know, with people you feel more comfortable with. So yeah, and obviously that was like our fifth time at that site as well, so we knew the site better, we knew the routine better, because the first time we went there we were like, it was pitch black. We couldn't find that. We actually drove straight to it, but it felt like we couldn't find it because it felt like you're lost, like in the middle of the woods. You're like, is this right?
Yeah.
And then we got there, and it was like 2 minutes to like time in or whatever. And we're like, get kit on.
Oh, it was
a bit more panic, but this time was way more chill. So we started out anyway. The story, we'll crack into the story because otherwise this will take forever.
Yeah.
So we started out in Molestown, yet again, and it was really cool to be the veteran in this situation, because before we were the ones being brought in, and the veterans were sizing us up, and it was really easy for me as Florian because I just basically took what the veteran builders and the veteran players did last time and just kind of repeated that and just been like, I've stuck around. I know how the Night's Watch works. You know, which is how the veterans were behaving before. They were like, hey, like the approaching people being like, hey, look, you know, the Rangers seem cool, but really they're doing is that you have to stay outside all the time. Half the time, you know, you're freezing your ass off in the middle of the snow. You know, if you're a builder, hey, you know, you get to see some action every now and again, but you get to sleep in a warm bed. You know, you get to be at the castle most of the time. You get like cool watches with cool people up on the. You get to piss off the top of the wall. You know, it's great. It's like, hey, and some, you know, it's not all bad. You know, you can. It doesn't mean you can't go home. You know, just because you've sworn into the Night's Watch. You know, if you behave yourself and then you get put off to Eastwatch, then you know you can go home depending on where you are. You know, you want to get supplies, things like that. So
And if you're playing a ranger, you didn't have to try to recruit people because
everyone just wants to
they
be
know where the cool kids are.
Yeah, I don't feel like that was as much of the
No,
case
no,
this time.
definitely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I kind of like did the same where we kind of mirrored what we did last time. So, our first event, Elle was there playing about 17 characters, but the first character that Elle was playing was this sort of veteran ranger who ended up recruiting Jonquil. This time I was there as a player and was playing somebody who was like really scared and everything and was took there, and I kind of did what Elle did to me, and I kind of like took this character under my wing a little bit, and that created some incredible game, especially just there on that first night in Mole's Town. We had a few fights break out. We had one canon character who was actually part of this game, which was Benjen Stark.
Yeah, which is really quite cool.
That
because
was really cool. You did such a good job.
So we played, which we haven't recapped yet. We played a LARP earlier in the year called A Dragon's Hunt, which was an alternate timeline, and the same player that played Benjen Stark in that alternate timeline reprised his role as Benjen Stark here, which I thought was really, really cool. Yeah, he did a great job, didn't he?
Yeah,
But the
really
idea
good job.
was that we were all like set up in Mole's Town, and Benjen was going out on this ranging, which those of you who know like Game of Thrones lore is a big because as the you know more, so correct me if I'm wrong. So when the show starts and the book starts, Benjen has gone out on his ranging, but hasn't come back. Is that right?
Yeah, so start of the TV show where Jon Snow is heading to the wall for the first time, and he gets there. At that point, Benjen has gone out on his ranging. This is the ranging that we're talking about. So we are the group that end up heading out looking for Benjen on this ranging. That those of you who do know the show well and everything know that he doesn't come back from this ranging. As Benjen, anyway. So this is where we're kind of set. We're the group that go out looking. So while this entire game is taking place, little Jon Snow is wandering to the wall with Tyrion. That's where we're at time period wise, which is quite cool. So the first night, Mole's Town. We see everyone. We have a few fights. I got to have a grappling. I got to do some grappling.
Yeah, so there was a bit of drama, which was really cool because that's one of the moments where I discovered that my LARPing skills had kind of these skills like just my confidence in different areas of LARP had increased. I was way more up for just like stirring the pot, not just being chaotic, but I was more okay with going, okay, I'm prepared to like take sides here, you know. So yeah, the I don't know why I can't remember the character's name. It was a while ago. So the character that was the first ranger in the last game wasn't the first ranger. At this point, there was tension between him and Benjen, and they basically I mean there was a big call out basically of like Benjen being like what you know, what the hell, like especially since Benjen, you know, he's a Stark, and I was basically stirring the whole favoritism thing. I was just like, you know, well, you know, the people, they've got a point, you know, is he a Stark or is he a brother of the Night's Watch, you know? So I quite enjoyed just like sitting, being like, you know, someone who had a bit of wisdom on the wall and just like poking the people that were a bit more volatile, especially the new people. But yeah, it kind of came to a head, didn't it? And that's when you had your Benjen put you forward.
Yeah, like Benjen came up to me in character and was like, yeah, look, you're gonna have to sort him out here. You're gonna have to take him on. I can't do it, you know. I'm first ranger and everything. I need to make an example out of him. He needs to be another veteran. You need to, you know, go ahead and do this. And I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, let's do it. And then like out of character, and then I was kind of like out of character. I was like, does he know this is happening out of character and everything? They're like, it's like, yeah, no, everything's good. We're all happy to go and do this. And we've got they're having it out, everyone's crowded round, and then Benjen like turns and is like, Jonquil. And like I kind of like step forward, and we have this like really cool moment, me and this guy, and we kind
You
of
can't
like
remember his character's name either.
oh, I can't remember character names at all. I really am struggling because there was
it's been a
so
while.
many names,
it's
and
been a
I
while,
don't want to say the wrong name.
It's been a while.
So we ended up like meeting in the middle, and the pair of us were like, we did a quick like whisper of, how are we gonna do this? We could do this. You happy with this? Yeah, let's do it. And we basically had this big, grappling scene, which was amazing. We both ended up on the floor. We ended up rolling around fighting, and we did a lot of shouting and screaming at each other, and then it left, I thought, on good terms after that. We seemed on all right terms after that point. It was a really cool sort of like first night and start to that.
Nothing crazy happened other than that.
Other than the Rangers getting put on half rations.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, no, there was. The veterans got pulled in because we found a note. I'm sorry. This is cut. This was a while ago. This game.
Yeah.
So there was a note, wasn't there? From someone who was a maester. Remember, we were all called into the theatre area, and Matt Peary's character had was there with another couple of people, and there was a scroll that we were all reading through, and it was basically it was some weird stuff. It was about people like getting up from being dead, and things like that.
That's right. It was our first sort of hints on something happening.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was mainly our first night, and then that was us for the night, and then we did the time jump the next day, where it was like a 2-week time jump to us kind of like walking through.
The 2-week time jumps are always jarring because everybody is constantly saying, "Oh yeah, last night," and it wasn't last night. They went, "Last night, I mean 2 weeks ago. Felt like last night."
All right, it felt like we had that fight last night. We did something a little bit different this event as well. Because I knew that we were probably going to get there in the dark and stuff, and we're trying to sort out things. We ended up actually sleeping in the car this time, which we've never done at an event before. I think that actually worked out quite well. I think I might do that from now on. Those sort of ones. Because it kind of took away some of the setup stress.
Well, the cost of obviously the cost of getting a hotel, but two, like not like being able to just drink and not worry about like driving out or trying to get a taxi from there, which is handy. So
we then come to the next day, we did our 2-week time jump. So the Saturday on these games, so we're like timing at like 10, and then it goes to like 1 a.m, maybe 2, might even be 3, might be 12. It's between that sort of, when the story comes to its conclusion.
I couldn't tell you when this game ended, because one thing about this game is because it was in December and it was like approaching the shortest day of the year as well. It got dark early, and it just threw everybody's perception of time.
Oh, it was dark at like 5,
out of whack.
We were just like
dark at 5. It's dark at 3. It was like December in England. Yeah, it was dark. It was like 4 o'clock where the sun was down. So everyone got really confused, which added to the horror element of the game.
So rules wise, we had a few different mechanics in there with us. We had similar to the Eldritch game that we played, we could have like a red or a green light on us, which was more for OC safety reasons, so that we don't actually fall over and hurt ourselves. But in game you can't see those lights. The light mechanic there was a lot of things with lights in this game. If we saw like a normal like white light, we were cold. If we saw like an orange light that looked like a flame, we would be feeling warm. And if we saw a blue light, it was the permafrost, which you couldn't be in without certain character mechanics or certain other things that came into it later on. So there was a lot going on with like this sort of effect in the game. We also had get off me tokens, again, like we had in Eldritch, which basically these are physical tokens, and you say get off me, and the monster lets go of you.
So like the first game, it's cinematic combat. So rule of cool, if you get hit, act like you've been hit. But when at first this game, because we had get off me tokens at the other horror game we did, but that was very much like, we had firearms and there wasn't really much like melee stuff in that game, and we were like, and there was zombies and things like that. So it was very low. It's not fantasy, it's like proper horror. But this one, obviously, we were warriors and we had swords and things like that. So it was only really when someone like came up and grabbed you that the get off me tokens were in effect, basically. And then we had a little piece of paper which I think everyone accidentally read before we were supposed to. It was just like, you were supposed to read it when you had all the get off me tokens off you, but most of us read it. I'll say it now because it makes sense to say it now. But basically, when you ran out of your get off me tokens, it basically, I'm pretty sure everyone had the same thing. It's like die in whatever way seems coolest. That wasn't the exact wording, but basically
within the next hour.
Within the next hour, and then come back, rise again to fight again against your allies. So it was basically like, hey, if you go down, then you're gonna get back up, and now you're a baddie zombie, White Walker thing. What's the difference? So the White Walkers are the actual monsters, right? And the zombies, they're not called White Walkers, they're just
whites.
They're just whites.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. There's a few different names we'll give people, but if we say like the White Walkers, we're talking about like the Night King get up, the big bads. But it's the whites that we end up kind of seeing a lot, and that's what like a lot of our fallen friends turn into.
So, we had the get off me tokens, and then like the permafrost and the stewards, the rangers, and the builders all had different abilities this time round. So as a builder, I could stay in permafrost longer.
Yeah.
So I could literally. So when you're in permafrost, you're supposed to like freeze and die, basically.
Yeah.
But I could head in there for like a few seconds and basically like drag someone out, basically, as a builder.
You had like 20 or 30 seconds or something. You could do things like that. The Rangers had more get off me tokens. It was, so we had a few like little different things between us all.
The get off me tokens were actually, it's funny, it was easier with this game than the previous game, because basically as long as you kept people at sword's length, you didn't need to use any get off me tokens. So as long as you like just backed off and didn't let other people deal with them, we'll get to all that. But we'll crack on with the story. So like we ended up like doing the big walk around the woods. So we were like off on our ranging to go find Benjen, and we did that big loop around the woods, right?
Yeah, well, I might be on the wrong sort of like time frame here, but basically this is 2 weeks later. We're north of the wall. We're behind Benjen's ranging at this point, and there is a deal. We're going to eventually be meeting up. We're going to meet up at one of the wildling villages, and that's what the plan was. So he's ahead of us, and we're behind, and we have the new conscripts. So we're heading towards the Godswood so that we can let them swear their oaths, and then we're going to circle around, and we should be right behind Benjen at this wilding village. So that's what the plan was at this point. There's no reason to worry or think anything's going wrong. We're just doing our normal thing, and the wildlings will be expecting us as well.
So we get into the camp, and then I can't remember. Again, this is going to be a great podcast story, but people who went to the game can like fill in.
Well, we did the Godswood tree first before we got to the camp. Yeah, because that's their first conversation with them was, what are you doing? We're like, we've just been swearing in our new conscripts. Here are our new conscripts that we've just sworn in.
Yeah.
So we kind of circle around, did that first, and that was really cool. We got to get them all sorted, and then I'm trying to remember actually, because this is really bad because there's so many things that happened.
It won't matter too much. Just as
long
as
as
you
get something
the main
that
beats.
I just remembered that happened that is actually really important.
I think
the very first night.
I think.
The very first night, because I don't think you came out on this.
No.
We found, we're in Molestown, we came across wildlings, meaning they had gotten through the wall somewhere, and they were screaming and they were begging.
No, that was important, yeah.
Yeah, they were like
Yeah.
begging for their lives. They were talking about the dead rising. They were talking about the dead ripping people apart. And we actually took one of these wildlings back to Mole's town to question. This is what started a lot of the drama and the fallout, is because we all seem to disagree with one another. Some people were like, look, they are still humans.
Yeah, that is like
you
the
know,
main plot point. I'm surprised we missed that.
Yeah. Some of us were like, they're still humans and we're humans. They should not have been killed.
Yeah.
Whereas other people were like, well, no, they're wildlings, and it put a big divide right in the Night's Watch, especially in the Rangers.
Mostly the Rangers. That's I think
The
that's why I forgot
Rangers
that, because I
were
wasn't
split.
involved in that.
Yeah. The Rangers were completely split down the middle, and it was very interesting because a lot of us in the first game literally spent a lot of time with wildlings, with all different wildlings, and those of us that had that experience were like, well, which wildlings was it? What clan were they from? And the other people were like, who cares? They're wildlings. And we're like, well, no, we need to know what clan they're from.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. So then fast forward to the next day, after we've sworn people in, that's our first conversations at this village where we're like, are you missing anyone? We're trying to figure out where these wildlings came from and what was going on.
Did we met wildlings as... Oh, yeah, we got attacked on the way to the village, didn't we? We didn't.
That was after the village when we went out to look for their missing people, and then we got attacked.
Interesting, because I have a feeling that we came into the village and we instantly said to them, oh, were the ones we just came across yours? And they were like, no.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the ones that we saw the 2 weeks previously at Molestown.
No, I'm pretty sure we bumped into a couple.
Maybe we did.
Yeah, I'm sure we... Regardless, we came into town... and again, I can't remember the guy in charge, and he was just like, "Oh, this is my village." He spoke about himself in the third person, so it was really weird because it was really quiet. Then there was no children about, so there was already like a bit of a vibe, and we talked to him. And we were like, "Hey, like, have you seen Benjen?" They're like, "Oh yeah, Benjen came through." Oh, had Benjen come through? Yeah, he had.
So
Benjen
spoke,
Sorry. So Benjen, they said, yeah, Benjen had come through, and they went to the fort.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't think they knew where they went, but he went. Yeah, they'd gone through here and they traveled.
Yeah, okay.
Through,
I know what's happening. You weren't part of the conversation. So I think So we knew Benjen went to the fort. That's why the fort was on the docket. That's why the fort was on the docket for like that's where we're going first. Was the fort. And yeah, there was a few weird things. So we kept talking about do you feel safe and things like that. That was a bit like similar to the first game, wasn't it? It was like, do you feel safe around here? They're like, oh no, we're safe.
Same like strange things. Also, there was a lot of the wildlings like standing, staring up, watching for birds and things like that, because wargs were like a big thing in the first game that we did, and we had like some of our conscripts being like, oh, don't be silly, those are just fairy tales, and we're like, oh, you'll see.
Yeah, I'll bring that back up later on because there's some cool stuff there. But like, so that some of the villagers, like there was an old guy with a bit of rope, and they were all acting different around the chieftain. So they were saying one thing not in front of the chieftain, and another thing when the chieftain would always just like show up when you were having a conversation with one of the villagers, and then they would like change their tune. Basically, they were giving us the idea that they were all fleeing south, or they were, and the people that had gone, so they said that their people had been kidnapped. Yeah. Right? But we were getting the impression that they hadn't been kidnapped, they had fled south.
Yeah,
and something
exactly.
like the chieftain was trying to keep them there, so he was like, oh, I'll give you information if you go find my people, and we were all just like, well, where the hell is... Obviously it was weird because we knew like in the story that Benjen wasn't his ranging wasn't around, but we were like, well, should we sit here and wait for Benjen? Do we go to the fort? But that was like 2 weeks ago, like he came through, so there's no way he's just been sat at the fort for like 2 weeks. So we headed out for expediency's sake. I think there was a chapel that burnt down, they said. There was lots of little tidbits of information.
Lots of little strange bits of information, and it got to the point where we kind of went, look, it makes more sense for all of us to go together away from this place. Really, we're off out to see if we can track Benjen. We're looking to track Benjen and see where he's gone. And we're telling the wildlings, well, yeah, while we go that way, we'll have a look, you know, for these people that you've lost, and we'll do that, and then we'll come back after at lunchtime maybe. So we head off.
So this is where we find the pit, right? Was this the pit bit?
Yeah, we have a little bit of a.
pit.
We eventually find a pit. So we end up heading out, and we get into quite a lot of altercations on the way. And at one point, our lead ranger ends up having to have quite a lot of the milk of the poppy. And he loses his mind a bit and puts me in charge, which was terrifying. So we go out. We end up finding a pit of, and what, I didn't see the pit.
Did you not?
I did not see the pit.
We saw the pit on the way out and the way back.
No, because you were all heading off that way, and I said, I'm going to stay here with 3 or 4 people, and we'll sound the alarm if, you know, if we're getting surrounded. You know, we're going to stay on the fort. So we stayed in the fort while you guys went to the pit. Yeah. What was the pit like, Oliver?
Well, the pit, yeah. So I think that there was a weird numbers thing going on. So there was like 5. Yeah, there was like 5. Oh no, this would have been after, because I think people were talking about people getting up. So on that first bit where you were talking about you were put in charge.
I was put in charge on the way back, I think.
Yeah. So on the way out, that was when we did a lot of fighting with some wildlings, and someone had apparently. So I didn't see that. My character didn't see this, but apparently someone on one of our own, who wasn't one of our own, it was one of Benjen's ranging, I think, went down, dead, and then stood back up, and then was killed again. And then so only like a few people had seen this, and then they started going on about, well, he got back up, you know, he got back up, and we were all just like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. I can't remember the placement of the pit, but I'll put it here just for, so they have this big pit at Eversley, and we come across it, and there's like 5. I'm pretty sure it was 5, because I think 5 kept coming up. I think the number 5.
There was 5 missing wildlings.
Yeah. Oh, they were the missing wildlings.
They were the 5 missing wildlings.
Yeah.
We think.
So there was a pit, and there was dead wildlings in there, and we were just like, right, what do we do with them? Basically, and it was just like, well, do we take their weapons? What do we do? We end up just leaving them, and then there became this thing. I think that was what it was. So everyone was. What was weird about the wildling camp was that people were talking about burning dead.
Yeah.
And we were the wildlings that were sort of in denial. We were like, do you burn it? They were like, no, we don't. We bury our dead. You know, we don't burn the dead. And they were like, well, what about? They were like, oh, there was a fire at the chapel, and they were like, oh no. And then when you talked to them without the chieftain, they were like, no, that's because we were burning them, because you have to burn them. So that's what we kept hearing. Burn the dead, burn the dead. But that's why I thought we encountered some of them on the way on the way to the village.
Maybe we did.
Yeah, if you're in the comments, because as soon as we were there, I'm sure we met someone who was hysterically like, you have to burn them, you have to please burn me. You know, like, I'm sure.
I thought that was after all this.
I'm sure we killed them and didn't burn them.
Okay.
And he was like, I'm sure this wildling was like, please burn me. And then we got to the village for the first time, and then they were like, oh, did you burn them? You know?
I thought that was actually on the first night, because the wildlings that we came across the first night were saying burn us.
Yeah. I maybe wrong, but obviously I wasn't part of that. I wasn't a part of that encounter that first night. So but yeah, the burning thing was a big thing. So we all start like debating at the pit, being like, shoot. So the people that were like starting to freak out and which were very few people, they were starting to like freak out, like, oh yeah, we should be burning them. I saw these people. I saw that person get up, and those of us were like, well, I mean, tactically, it's a very bad idea, because one, it takes a lot of resources to burn a body. We kind of forget about that a bit later, but I'm like, you know, I was saying to people, you know how much wood you need to burn a human body for a start? Like, do we really want to like spend our time finding enough wood to burn 5 human bodies?
Yeah.
2, we're going to make a big old smoke plume, it's going to alert every wildling within a 10-mile radius that the Night's Watch are right here. So we go, right, let's not burn them, because a few people were like thinking along the same vein as me. We did also find, so builders, funnily enough, we found a schema, which was like a plan for a dagger. It was a dragon glass dagger, and people who know Game of Thrones know the significance of that, so it kind of where did we find the first lot of dragon glass?
I can't remember where we found the first lot,
They were
but
just
I think
on the wildlings,
it was
right?
on some of the wildlings as we were like looking around. So we do end up finding some dragon glass.
Yeah, so we have the cool little builder thing was that we could read the schemas, and then using the schemas we could make the thing. So that was cool. When we got back to camp, we were looking for the schema, and it was like a dagger blueprint of a it was made by the Elk Clan as well, so that was cool. So I got to be like, oh yeah, I know the Elk Clan, and I got to tell like stories in character about like the Elk Clan as well. But it was cool being that veteran, being the veteran builder and being like, right, okay, let's make this. So the rules were for the daggers, I needed 3 pieces of dragon glass to make 1 dagger.
Yeah, or
Yeah. We'll get it, because there was other things.
I was about to cut. I was wait a minute.
There was other things you could make, but every time I made it, I got slightly better at making them, I think it was supposed to be each person, but we ended up just being like a team thing. So we were just like, every time we make one, it's going to be better.
Yeah.
As long as it's headed by one person. Because we found out later there were other you didn't have to be a builder to just get the schema. There was other schemas knocking about that we found out later. So there were other people with these daggers. So that was a cool little thing of just like making these daggers. Again, my character was still like, oh, it's just a cool that people are like, why do you want to do it? I'm just like, it's a cool thing to make. Obviously, out of character, I know the significance of the dragon glass dagger. But
character, you're like, you're a builder, and you like to build things.
Yeah, I'm just like, cool. So it was cool. I think that was a good thing to add, because I don't think the builders had as much. There wasn't anything that really separated the builders from the rangers in the first game.
Yeah, whereas this one, it looked like the builders had lots of cool stuff this time.
Yeah. I mean, the bridge thing got a little bit. The builder jokes got a little bit old quite quickly, because every time they were like build something, and I was just like, for fuck's sake. It's like, we're on ranging. I was like, if you came to help me build help repair the wall, ranger, I wouldn't be like, go range something, ranger, go on, range this, how about range this bush here, And it was just constant. Everyone was like, oh, build a bridge, can you build that, how about building this, as we're like trying to do ranging stuff. But yeah, that was a cool little thing. So I think we're probably going to be all over the place when it comes to what happened after this. We'll probably randomly remember things and then jump backwards.
After, we found a load of things, found the pit, all of that. We end up heading back towards this village, but as we start to head back, we hear a horn getting blown. And this horn is a horn that we recognize as one that a ranger would have. So we end up splitting off a bit, trying to figure out where this sound is coming from. This is what then leads us to end up in a lot of fights against wildlings. And this is when things get a bit hairy, and this is when people start talking about these wildlings like coming back up again. At this point, I end up in charge after the lead ranger has gotten really seriously injured and is full of milk of the poppy. So I end up in charge, and we end up trying to figure out, do we follow this horn and try and figure out where it is? Or do we get everybody, do we stay at the fort, or do we get everyone and go back to the village? And at first, we ended up just following this horn because we thought, well, it could be one of us. If our brothers or sisters are out there, we need to do this. Until we started getting into fight after fight after fight. And then people started to lose their minds. And we're like, no, we need to forget about the horn. We need to go back, because at this point, we don't know who's blowing that horn, and we don't even know if they're still alive. So we end up making our way back towards the village. We do end up having somebody from Benjen's ranging, but I don't remember at what point they showed up. But we end up heading back towards the village, and when we get to the village, it is empty. apart from a lovely lunch spread that's there.
Oh, yeah.
But the village is empty. So the first thing we do is we all split off and we look in every single hut. But like we search every hut, make sure that there is no wildlings hiding anywhere, and we don't find anything. So out of character, we know this is lunchtime. So we all grab some lunch, we tell some stories, we this is when the schema's getting passed around. This is when the discussion of Dragonglass is coming up. I do remember at this bit getting really sus about the builders, because the builders kept like disappearing off and having these conversations. Every single time we brought up anything about the Dragonglass, they would like be like, hush, and we're like, what is going on? And then we just had random builders be like, can we have that Dragonglass? And we're like, no, that's my Dragonglass.
Yeah.
Why do you want the dragon? It was really sus really quickly.
Yeah. Not that I'm accusing people of being a little bit gamey, but it's just like, what, like, I know that the Rangers know out of character there's something mechanical with this Dragonglass that you're picking up. You've looted it. It's just like, but for the love of fucking God, why the fuck would Rangers care about a bit of, like, stone? And it's just like, the builder's like, oh yeah, like, we can make... Also, I was explaining to every single Ranger, I'm going to make it. And I was like, we'll make it so you can use. At no point
at
did
this
the builders...
point, we didn't know about the knife, by the way. So this was
I
before
was
this.
everyone.
Yeah.
I was saying,
so we had... I was with a few Rangers, and we had one of the builders come up, and they went... Yeah, we had you we had you found some stuff. We need it, and we're like, all right, yeah, sure. What do you need it for? And they went, but you don't need to know about that.
Yeah, well, that was.
And then we kind of went, okay, why? And they went, you just don't need to know about it. And it was really weird. And we went, okay, now we don't want to give it to you.
Yeah,
just tell us.
yeah. I think that was our conscripts that were just trying to. They were just shady folks.
It got really shady, and we're like,
yeah.
Whereas that's when because I think my response was, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give it to Florian.
Yeah,
I'll give it to Florian when I see him. He's another veteran. I don't know you. And then it wasn't until I saw you, and I was like, yeah, you need this.
Yeah. What I was quite proud of with Florian actually all through this game, that like Florian did seem to have that reputation, because there was a few veterans that had that reputation of being like, oh no, like I'll trust Florian, I won't trust you. There was a real good moment later on between a couple of people where it was pretty tense, and they were just like, I'm gonna give this to Florian. They're like,
yeah, that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did all this, and then after lunchtime and everything, this is when the things started to take a turn, because one of the wildlings did turn up, and she was alive. Mm-hmm. And she came running, screaming everything else, being like, they're all gone, it got them all. I was hiding, and tells a story of basically the cold coming, and the cold kept coming up. Everyone kept talking about the cold, and she was like, the cold came, and they're all gone. My father is gone. They're all gone, but they're not gone. They're still up, and it was really confusing. And that's when they were like, Jonquil, we need you to go and lead a ranging to go and find out what's happened. And I got to put together a group of being like, right, I need this. At this point, we had shared some more information. We shared about the like builder stuff. And I was like, well, we need a couple of builders. They need to look for this Dragonglass stuff while we do this. So we put together like a team.
Yeah.
And...
because we must have had information that the Dragonglass could do something, right? We got that from someone.
You got the schema. The schema is what it was.
Yeah, obviously, but I remember there being a point of like, oh, we can just make it because it's a cool thing to make. But there was no information of like, oh, Dragonglass kills the whites. Because at this point, we weren't really bothered.
We didn't know what whites were. We hadn't seen any at this point.
Yes, I don't know. I'm struggling to remember, like, figure out when, because I can't remember this raining. Because this is one you did in the daylight.
Daytime, daylight. Yeah. You stayed. It was only about 20 of us did it.
Yeah.
So we headed out, and I was in the front with this wildling, and I said to her, like, right, I need you to show us where we're going. I gave her a weapon. That's what it was. Right, I was like, you need a weapon. I was like, you're with us now, but you need to be able to fight. Gave her a weapon, and then we like start following the path, and she's taking us there, and she's like, it was down there, it's down there. And this is where things get really freaky, because they're just all dead bodies. And then they got up, and one of them ran at me, jumped on me, put their arms on me, and like tried to like bite my neck and everything. It was so cool. The player there afterwards came up out of character and was like, "Is it okay that I jumped on you and bit you?" I was like, "That's fine, I know you." So we had to like, before we knew it, we were running in, we're fighting. There was some people that were standing completely like, what is going on? Because it was quite intense. And I was like, right, okay, we need to get them down. And we're fighting them. And every time we get them down, they're back up again. I was like, right, we need to let's light them on fire, because she kept going on about lighting them on fire. So we started lighting them on fire, and then the special effects sort of team were putting this smoke around to show that it was that, but there was on fire and stuff. We managed to do all that, and as we're all leaving, one of the crew comes up and whispers into my ear and says, "You look back at the fire. You see someone rising there. Something different than everything else here." And a few of us basically saw something in the flame. And then we all start heading back. We're all injured. We are telling the story where we're like quite hysterically, like, they are rising, they're coming back. Oh yeah, because the lead builder, I said to her before we left, I said, you pick people that you are going to believe, because when they see this, because a lot of the Rangers were like, no, they're coming back to life, and people weren't believing us. I said, you pick someone you trust. And when they come back and they tell you that they saw, the dead coming back, you'll believe them. Still didn't bloom and believe them. Like, honestly, we came back and everyone's like, nah, don't be silly. And I think at that point I was like, do you know what? Come out here with us and you come and see for yourself. And I was getting like really like hecked up, and I was like, why are you not believing me?
Yeah, it's funny. I was still skeptical. I think this was actually, it was a moment in around this time where people were obviously starting to get like about half the people were getting really superstitious.
Yeah.
And they'd seen it. Well, that's right, because I think, well, this is where I started building trust. I know, like, so the character Magnus Snow, because we ended up with a little D&D party later in the day.
Oh yeah,
basically.
we got our D&D party.
So
together.
where we started like building trust. So like so Ethan's character Magnus, that was when, like, cause he must have been out with you and seen it, because like he was getting a little bit kind of het up, and I was just like, we were making the Dragonglass dagger, and I was just like, it's okay, like, we're gonna give it to you, don't worry. Even though I was still skeptical, I was just like, are they though? But there was a moment where people being superstitious and going like, oh, this, that, the other, even people who hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And I was like, weird things happen. You think, and war, especially when you're speaking to recruits, and you're like, sometimes, war, people shit themselves, people see crazy things with the adrenaline, and then someone says, oh yeah, like, there's just crazy things that are like wargs, and I was like, oh no, wargs are real.
They're real. Those ones are fine.
I was like, no, they are real. I've seen them. Everyone's like, what?
People are getting, so we're now kind of like split, where half the people are like, no, we've all seen it, it's there, we need to deal with it. Another half are like, don't be silly. At this point, other weird things started happening, where some people end up with writing appearing on their hand. So they were waking up and they had like messages written, like almost like scarred into their hands. So we had like the stewards like check them over for stuff, then try to look at everybody who was wounded. At this point, Jonquil, because I've got this huge bite mark on my neck, I propped my cloak around it, because I just noticed people starting to take away anyone that was injured, and I was like, no, I'm covering that wound straight up. The only people that know about it is me, it's you. You're not going to say anything.
Zombie movie rules,
Like, cover this up.
Yeah.
But then things change when we start to get attacked in the village, and that's when everyone witnesses, because somebody went down and everybody that's seen them go down were like, quickly burn them, and I was like, no, do not burn them, everyone needs to see this. And they rose back up, and that's when I was like, okay, now burn them.
Well, wasn't it the Lannister that got the Lannister from like the first game? He was one of the ones that went down in the day, and then we shut him in the cabin and burnt the cabin.
Yeah.
Because we were like, oh, and then that's the point where we were like, oh, people are getting back up. Okay.
And then we started to realize what was actually happening, and then it must have been close to this time that we realized what the dagger did as well, because you ended
Oh,
up
yeah.
So we realized what the dagger did. We realized at this point the dead were coming back. We knew to get them down, we had to either use the dagger or burn their bodies. So we had like a good idea on what we're doing there. We knew we needed to track Benjen because we did have a member of his party, so we knew he was still out there. We needed to find Benjen, we needed to find Dragonglass, and at this point, that was our plan, to range out, get everybody healed, and to carry on from there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we headed to, because then we went to the fort like several times. I can't remember what our main heading was after shit went down in the village. I can't remember why did we just leave the village?
We left because we had to find Benjen.
Just to go out and find Benjen.
We decided at that point we're leaving the village.
Yeah.
So we did our final thing, and then we did our final sort of because there was a bit of a some people were like, oh no, we should head back to the wall, and we're like, well no, because at this point we've literally just found a member of Benjen's ranging. He's got a full ranging out there. We need to find them. That was top priority at this point.
Yeah.
That changes a bit later on, but at this point, that's what we did.
Yeah, the priority definitely changed later on. I think we went to the fort because we were like, well, yeah, the fort can be, we can defend the fort,
Yeah, we
basically.
needed somewhere that we could actually defend while we figure out and while we track as well, because we had to try and track him. And then, yeah, we end up going, there's something quite cool that actually happened. Sorry, this might have actually happened earlier. We were doing this sort of thing where we were we're tracking and we're going through the woods and stuff ahead of everyone, and we're coming up this path and we're like, yeah, these tracks is this, and I heard something. An actual real life deer came running out of the bush next to me straight across the path in front of us. And I was like, that's so freaking cool.
That's really cool. We tracked it.
we tracked a deer.
We're so useless we can't kill it or do anything with it, but we tracked it.
And then I was like, it might have been a warg.
Oh no, I know why we went to the fort.
Why?
Because I was one of the ones with the so there was several of us that had the writing on the back of our hand.
Yeah.
But my one said follow them. Yeah. So mine said follow them.
Yeah, there was the first.
The last.
The last, follow them, something like
that. And then the last one, which was right in the middle of the chaos. So we got basically invaded by whites, right? Not wildlings attacking us, but the whites attack. So these were zombies coming to get us. And we were getting overrun, and then the children of the forest just came into the thing. That's what happened. The children
came in, so we were surrounded. The frost is coming in, by the way. The special effects of this frost was great. That this really powerful blue light that covered a huge area. And
actually, a bit of a downer on that. I struggled with the permafrost. There were several times where I was just stood in the permafrost and people were just like, "Oh, you need to get out of there." I'm like, "What?" And I couldn't see
I think they had different lights, so some of them weren't quite as powerful, but some of them were really working well.
Yeah.
And then the children in the forest came. And they're they were adorable and so deadly. And they came running out. They're like, "Quick, you need to follow us." And we're like, "Oh, I'm following them."
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then in the middle of the chaos, someone else had a thing on their hand saying "Oh, I've just got this on my hand." It said "Run," So.
Oh, and then it just came saying "Run."
It wasn't until we were running out, and I was like, "Oh wait, follow them." And we were like, "What?" So then we
follow them. That was it. Yeah.
Because I was like, there was the crew needed to get us from there to the fort, and I'm like, I can't remember how but yeah, they literally just ran us out and went follow the children.
So we were running, trying to keep up with them, and it was the freaking walkers were right behind us. It was really close, and we were all bolting through the woods. Ground wise as well, there had been a lot of flooding and a lot of bad storms and everything, so it was quite hairy running through. And then we got to the fort and we got everyone in there, and then the doors barricaded.
The doors barricaded, and then we were pretty much at the fort for the rest of the night, and this is when the sun was starting to set, right? This was when it was, so this is when it got really weird, and you can see why. Where you get these health people that are just oh yeah, human beings, they're supposed to be sleeping when it's dark. You can see why that's evolutionarily, if that's a word, that is appropriate, because honestly, because you don't, when you're LARPing like that, you don't have any technology. You're all you're doing is like you're going off the daylight, and the amount of us that were like, it was dark, and we were like, at different points of this event, we were just like, oh god, maybe we're not having dinner, or I'm so tired, but it was only like 5 o'clock or
Oh
something.
my God,
We were like, it
honestly.
must be like 11 p.m. and it was like 6:30 or something. It was so disorientating, and it was pitch black. The weather was like perfect, wasn't it? Because it was
It was
like
really similar to that first game where it was like a clear sky and then the moon
Full
did
moon.
eventually, full moon made an appearance. It was beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the rest of the night we did actually end up spending there at the fort, and lots of different events happened. I think it's easier if we just talk about each event that happened,
Yeah.
and then we'll get to our like
Because
actual
again, the game is finishing
because-
at like the early hours, so we knew. So weirdly enough, even though the game, as soon as it got dark, we still had like 10 hours of gameplay
Yeah.
left when it got dark.
So like the first thing that's really important is a lot of these schemas were found at various points. And we ended up finding ones for a sword and ones for candles. And we knew that the candles could keep away the permafrost. In order to get these though, we did need a load of dragon glass, and we knew that there was like there was lots of rumors of like pockets of dragon glass hidden in different places. So we knew we had to find them. The children couldn't remember, but they knew someone who might remember where it is. And
So this is the funny thing when people were going on about like the build. Like, oh, the build is the dragon glass. People were keeping dragon glass. And I was like, literally every scrap of dragon glass, I'm making a dagger and giving it to rangers. Because people weren't giving me dragon glass, I only managed to make like one. And by the time I made a second one, the first one had run out, and that was the idea that so they would last longer in encounters. They would last for like, so the first one only lasted like 2 encounters. The next one would last like 3 encounters, and so on. Which was obviously sometimes people were going, oh, don't. So this is one of those weird things where you're given like the out of character rule for it, but then constantly there was one encounter they were like they were like using them constantly on just getting them down, and then people were just like, well, don't overuse it, don't overuse it. I'm like, no, use it. Like, I've literally been told out of character, like, it will last till the end of this encounter, use it on all of them. They're like, no. I'm like, no, I've been told, just use it. It will break,
there was also
but not right
like, because there was a bot who had to burn bodies, and people were like, we don't know how to burn it, but there was the information was passing around that you all have like splint. You all have the flint. That's it. Splints. I know what I meant. You all had flint. You all had the ability to light fire, and that kind of got passed around.
There was so many encounters. There was like, so the fort got attacked a lot. Obviously, it was just a building threat of like, we were surrounded in this fort, and it was like they wanted to make it clear, like, you don't really want to be wandering out the fort unless there's like a load of you. We fortified the whole area. We had fortified it earlier in the day, in the daylight as well. We'd like fortified it because we knew we might have to like bunker down for the night. But it was just basically they recreated the long. Was it the long night?
Long night.
The long night. That was kind of that was the feeling we got, where it was just like, it's going to get dark early, and this is going to be a long night, because as soon as it got dark, we were being attacked, and it was we were like, oh crap, we've got to survive basically somehow through this night, and we got we got continuously kind of bombarded by whites. I think the first white, when was the first White Walker you saw?
So that we saw them after you did your cool thing. So the builders went off to do their cool thing because we didn't have the candles until you did that.
That's right. So it was actually the stewards. So no, wait, hang on. No, it was the builders.
Yeah.
So they
we went somewhere else.
Yeah, so we went with the builders. Or I went. I was actually supposed to be the second builder. So the builders went with me and the first builder. We went to go see someone with the children of the forest, and we took a couple of stewards with us. So we kind of left you guys. The children took us. And we met. Now I think he was a lore character, but I can't actually remember what maester it was. So there was a maester that was in, basically as we approached, the children were like, oh yeah, we're taking to see someone special, blah blah blah, and we met this maester who was like stuck in this tree, like the tree had like grown around him. very like Three Eye Raven-ish, basically.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
assuming
yeah.
that's what the deal was. I'm sorry, my Game of Thrones lore is not like the best. But yeah, he had this like candle holding it, and he explained to us that the candle keeps them at bay, so keeps the and he called them the, oh no, what's the name of them?
The others. I thought
The
it was just
others,
the
there we go.
others.
The
Yeah,
others, there we
the
go. The
others.
others. So in the lore, it's like the others, right? So they like keeps the others away. So we figured out the others are the White Walkers and things like that. And there's also this thing throughout the whole vein of this, the lore of the Night's Watch as well, is that the White Walkers are a myth, basically, especially to us Southerners, especially the people south of the Wall.
Yeah.
You know, some of the Northerners, very few of the Northerners believe in them, but they're still like a myth, but it's still a part of the Night's Watch that it's like the horns. So it's like one horn is a ranging returning. Two horns is blows is wildlings, and three horn blows is White Walkers. So
Others. 3 for others.
others.
Yeah.
There we go. Others. So anyway, but we had. So he was like, this keeps the others at bay, and explained how it worked, and he was like, I'm going to give you this candle, because we knew we had this. I think we knew how to make them, but it was very difficult to make them. It took a lot of dragon glass, and it took like 5 builders, I think it was like 5 full minutes of role play, which is a long time when you're like trying to get everyone coordinated to do it. So we had to basically stand around a fire to do it. We needed a forge, we needed an anvil, and all this. It was a bit like it was a big thing to make these candles. He was like, "You can take this one." We're like, "Well, what happens to you?" He was like, "Well, I'll die." So we were like, "Oh, thanks." So, but to light the candle, you had to speak a dark secret to the darkness, basically, on your own. So you had to go out and then speak, and then that candle was like bonded to you, if you like.
Yeah.
So you were then the candle holder. So mechanically, the candle, one kept the others at bay. I don't know how well it did that at times. I don't think it was like, I'm
It kept
invulnerable.
the frost at bay.
But basically, the main thing was that you could stand in the permafrost.
Yeah.
With the thing, I got a bit confused. I thought that people near the candle could be in the permafrost, but no. Apparently, only the person holding the candle
holding it. Yeah.
could be in the permafrost. I got a bit confused at that bit. I got to admit. So we ended up taking this candle, and it was very sad that he died, and we came back around, and obviously we're in the middle of the woods. Well, we're like, hope we don't get attacked on our way to the camp. Then by the time we got to our camp, there was like 4 stewards in the camp. We were like, where are the rangers? Where is everybody?
So while we were in the camp, while we were in the fort, the people came running up to the door, started banging on the door, and they were from Benjen's ranging.
Yeah.
And I went, Benjen is here. He's near here. Yeah. He needs us.
Yeah.
So we were like, right, we're all heading out. This definitely caused conflict later on, because I was like, no, we need to go. I turned around, there was stewards that were there, and said, you either come with us, or, because there was still one children of the forest, there was one of them, and she was standing at the top. I was like, or get her to take you to the builders. That message might have not been very clear. Anyway, we ran to get Benjen, because that's why we were there. We're there to get Benjen. So we go running through the woods, and we are following these people from the ranging. And we come across some freaky stuff. But one of the things that we do come across is Benjen, who is no longer Benjen, but he is Benjen. And he's alive, but he's also dead. But he's not dead, but he's not alive. It was really confusing. For Game of Thrones people, yeah, he was Cold Hands, is what he was. He kind of turns into Cold Hands. And they did actually have.
I still don't know what he is though. Like it was cool role playing it with because I didn't see him then. I saw him later, but
yeah,
I was still confused. Like what are you? What?
And that's the thing, because I mean, even in like Game of Thrones lore, like we don't know.
Yeah, he's
Cold Hands, and they did actually have some effects on his hands. I did notice that actually, but I was like, why would I notice this? Why would I be looking at his hands right now? So we have that conversation, and yeah, it was crazy, and it was really emotional, and we couldn't get near him because the permafrost was around him. Jonquil is just like, like no, like, you're here, you come with us. And he's like, I can't come with you. You know, the cold is with me. I can't come with you. He names the new first ranger, and we leave him there.
And it wasn't. It was. Yeah, it was actually one of Florian's buddies, a sunglass, who was an older ranger. So yeah, it was. But when you guys had come back from all that, a lot of you were like, "Oh yeah, we found Benjen," but you weren't like. It was almost as if you, oh yeah, but it was almost like, oh yeah, Benjen, oh yeah, he's like here, but he's not here, and you were like speaking about him like he was Father Christmas or something like that, and I was like, Florian was very much like, well, is he coming back? And they're like, oh no, well he says he has other things to do. I'm like, well, is he a brother of the Night's Watch or not? Like he's just gonna abandon his brothers? What?
Yeah. So he tells us where we can find the dragon glass, because we know that there's like a pile of dragon glass somewhere to find. So we head off and we start searching through the woods for this dragon glass. We're following these clues and everything. At some point though, eventually we come across someone chained up to a tree who is like a white, and there was like a note and everything.
I heard so much about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I heard a lot of this from the crew after. Like,
so there was like the permafrost around him and everything, and there was like a note, and he was there, and but there was like, we had to like get over to him, and we're like, how do we do this? We end up trying to get into it. So what we do is we form a chain. We each hold on to everyone's arm, and we send one person in to grab the note, and then we pull them out of this. And it was terrifying trying to do it, because we knew that once they went into this, we didn't have long like to actually keep them alive. So we got the note, I don't remember exactly what it was, we got all the information. There was a bit of a talk between us all of like, should we maybe put him out of his misery? Should we do something here?
Probably should have, yeah.
We should do something, but none of us could get anywhere near him. We're like, do we risk putting someone else close to him again? So we got the dragon glass dagger, and we thought, right, let's try and get him. Let's try and just put him out. I don't think we did actually manage to get him out, because the person that had gone into the permafrost was dying in that moment. We're like, we need to get back. We carry on going back, and eventually when we do make it back, I can't remember if we actually found dragon glass on the way. I think we were supposed to find dragon glass.
We were supposed to find dragon glass.
We were supposed to, and there was a little bit of a, I think something had happened. The dragon glass wasn't where it was supposed to be, or something, but we were like,
people were hanging on to it. People found it and didn't say stuff, and people were finding like schemers as well, and not saying anything to the builders and things like that.
There was us in the start, and we're like, well, we need to find it, you know. And we had like, it was strange. We did have like a couple of random builders with us. It didn't go with you guys, and we did. I remember us being a bit like, oh, I thought all the builders went to do builder stuff. So we get back. And so then we get back into camp, and we're literally like kind of told by crew, he's going to die. Get him to the fire, or that person's gone.
Oh yeah, this was the frustrating moment.
It was a frustrating moment for both groups. Yeah. You guys had just done all that stuff, and you had to stay by the fire. Yeah. We were literally told, our player character is going to die if you don't get him to the fire right now. So it became a bit of a, well, this is more important because he's dying. And you were like, well, this is more important.
This is more important because we're in the middle of something.
Well, we don't know what you're doing. You're standing around a fire. It looks like there's enough room to shove somebody else in there.
Yeah, whereas...
they just need to sit next to you.
Yeah, because the rules were it's like 5 minutes of uninterrupted roleplay, and we're like, go away.
We don't need to talk. I think that was the confusing bit, because we were like, we don't need to talk to you. He just needs to sit next to you. He's not talking to you.
Well,
just dying.
I think neither party had the information, so it was like, you know, especially like in character, I was just like, well, if he's gonna die, do it over there. Create a fire for him, you know. Yeah.
So it became a whole thing, but we kind of like got back there, and at this point, this is where things got really weird. We had our little group that we had, you know, kind of formed.
Well, this is where it was definitely starting to form. Anyway. Yeah.
So Elle's character comes out of the woods.
Yeah. So Harry was like a flea bottom, like you know, thief type, spy thief type, like a, you know, rogue backstory thing. And Harry's brother, Case.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. So, but yeah, so Case was a builder, not a veteran builder, but had
Been
been
there for a long time. Yeah.
a builder that had been there for like, I think it was like only like a year, 2 years or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was way longer
No,
than
no,
that.
it wasn't
Okay.
it wasn't that long. It was only like a year or something. But like if yeah, Florian and Case had bonded on the first night,
Yeah.
so I had he had kind of trust in Florian. We kind of made friends with Graham's character that
Yeah.
I can't place now because we had him in the backstory, and then we had like Magnus Snow that we'd kind of made bonds with, so we all kind of knew Harry as well through that. And like
And
so yeah,
like
sorry, continue.
Jonquil kind of like taking Harry like under her wing, like
Yeah.
like, oh no, she's gonna be like a ranger, and she like butted heads with Case over this stuff. That's why for some reason I thought Case and hadn't seen Harry in like 10 years. I thought that was what
No, it was
happened.
no, I think it was relatively
Ah, okay.
recently because he hadn't been around that long because he was still at that stage of just like, oh fuck my life, I'm at the Night's Watch
Yeah.
type thing, whereas we'd been there for like so long and like yeah, you'd be fine.
So yeah, we're watching there, and Case is like, where is Harry? Like, and he's got her scarf and everything. He's looking around for her. And then she appears, but looks different. Like all this sort of like white going on and stuff, and she's like looking freaky as hell. And it's just like, looking at us all and stuff, and we're like, are you dead? Are you alive? And basically, she was kind of dead, but it was a very similar thing to Benjen, but she was there with us. And there's like certain people like, oh, we had to kill her and everything. I'm like, you're not touching her. No one's touching her. Because we've just found a loophole.
Yeah, yeah.
We've just found a way of having a really cool little loophole
Yeah.
with us.
So yeah, because she was basically she was Lady Stoneheart, right, from like the books. It was pretty much
It
that.
was very much
Yeah, it was
like
pretty
Lady
much
Stoneheart.
that
Yeah.
type of thing. It's the thing is supposed to be the same magic, right? I don't know much about Lady Stoneheart because I've not read the books.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the stranger or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all to do with the stranger. Yeah, so we have her there with us. And
Also, yeah, she does tell us that 5 of our number, as in like 5 members of the Night's Watch that are there with us, killed her. So
well, what she says is she was very much like, no, I can't tell you. And she said there's 5, and she keeps saying black cloaks. So we're like, or black figures, and we're like, that can only be the Night's Watch.
yeah,
And there was a lot of like different things going on, and we were like a little bit worried about what was happening. And we say to her, and that scene kind of comes up where she does lose her mind a little bit, and she's looking around scared, and certain people are like, okay, quickly, just kill her. And I'm like, I grab her, and I'm like, because I know Elle, and I know Elle's okay with it.
Yeah.
So I grab onto her, and I'm like, point at them now. Who is it? Point at them. And the person I'm really suspicious of keeps saying, just get off her, leave her alone. And I'm like, point at them now.
yeah.
And then she points, and we put it together, and it was like,
yeah.
oh.
Well, so this was the time at night where everyone starts getting priorities, right? Because it's like, oh crap, we're in a situation here. We can't just like, it's not about just winging it and being like, let's all, because that's the thing with the Night's Watch it is especially like in the lore of it, it's like you've got people, some of them are volunteers, but most of them don't really want to be there, and the conscripts that you get aren't going to be the best soldiers, the most stand up, most honorable people ever. So you kind of have to like use the idea of the brotherhood sisterhood in this case to kind of like try to keep people working together, but then in situations like this that can like break down. I really loved how that kind of happens. So you have like the newer people that are just like, and then the people there was obviously like we had one of the Snows was just like just a bad and like try to kill the first builder, and then kind of then ran off. That was a whole other story. There's so many storylines going on, but you could see everyone was like moving off into their own groups. So for Florian, I was saying to the people that I trust, I was like, look, if our oaths mean anything, this is what I mean. Like, we are the shield that defends the realms of men, right? It took a while for us to believe what we're seeing here. This is getting this information that this is happening and what's happened tonight to the Lord Commander is the most important thing it's the most important task of our lives, and that's the stance I took. So I started circulating that, and I was just like, so to get this information to the Lord Commander, he needs to speak to people who he will believe, right?
Yeah.
So and unfortunately for like Harry, it kind of changed, but that was part of my plan as well. I was like, hey, and if we can put Harry in front of him, as well. So Jonquil is, and I said that to people as well. Like when you weren't there, I was like, hey, look, Jonquil, because in your backstory.
Oh, it was my backstory. Myself and the Lord Commander Mormon are like this. Like
so I was like,
we have a lot of nights together.
I was like, the most important thing is that Jonquil gets back, and obviously I wanted my wife to get back as well. But but honestly, I had it. Look, Florian, even above that, was just like, look, if our oaths mean anything, this is the most important thing. So then I had to someone who had been around the Night's Watch for 14 years knows that there are people that take the Brotherhood seriously, and are the people that survive for 14 years, and there are conscripts that come and go like that because they break their oaths instantly, and they're just nasty pieces of work. So I was like, right, I'm picking the people who I trust, and that's how we ended up with this group of 5 of us. Again, 5. It's weird how the groups all seem to be in 5s as well.
Kept coming up.
Yeah, but it was 5 plus 1. We'll get into that.
5 plus 1, because Harry doesn't count. Harry's dead. Okay, so we start doing this and everything. Around about this time of night, it's pretty late at night, and we're none of us had dinner yet, so a lot of us are kind of like.
This was the moment we were like, oh, I don't think we're getting dinner. But it was only 6:30 or something.
We're starving. So we were sitting there, and that's when a crew member actually kind of came up and kind of said to myself and you, just kind of to be to give us a little heads up of we need you for something.
Yeah.
So we'll fast forward past a few things.
Well, we went and got something to eat, didn't we?
We went to get something to eat. We then were brought over to this crew member, us and 3 other people. 5 people.
5 people, yeah.
And we were taken off to a scene. We were taken off to an encounter tent.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's one of those moments where we're like, oh, what connects us all? And we'll leave you with this. We wake up in character. We wake up. Well, there's 5 of us, but we haven't woken up. We are all dreaming, and there is a silver-haired individual in front of us, and proceeds to tell us of something called the Song of Ice and Fire, which really kicked the game into another level, and it was such a cool encounter tent.
It really was.
And then coming back to camp after it with the information that we got changed pretty much everything, didn't it? So, yeah, I think we'll leave it because this is already, we're going to split. We decided that we're going to split this into 2 parts. So we'll continue because we really want to do the finale of this game justice. The finale of this game is absolutely
probably top moment in LARP.
It was the finale was.
It takes number 1 spot.
The finale was absolutely incredible. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, give us the 5 stars. Go check out the Patreon. We'll be coming back with part 2 next week. We also have a guest lined up. Kitty, who's the game runner, one of the game runners for the Game of Thrones LARPs we've done this year, and we're going to talk about Men His Fate. We're going to talk about the Eversley Games LARP, Feast Your Eyes, all that type of stuff, Game of Thrones, all that amazing stuff. Right, and with that, we'll say goodbye. Right, love you very much. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.